Welcome to Plot Recon, where thrillers get tactical. I'm your host, Evan Graver. Today, I'm joined by Wayne Stinnett, USA Today best-selling author of the long-running Jesse McDermott Caribbean Adventure series. His books deliver grit, action, and saltwater realism drawn from his own life as a U.S. Marine, commercial fisherman, truck driver, and traveler across the Florida Keys and the Caribbean. Welcome to the show, Wayne.
Thanks for having me, Evan. It's good to see you again, man. We haven't talked to each other in quite a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think the last time we saw each other was 2019 at the Key West Thriller Fest before they shut it down.
No, St. Pete Boat Show in 20.
Uh,
I guess that was 2019 also, wasn't it?
yeah, I think we were. Oh, you bought your Beneteau down in Miami, right? At the Miami Boat Show.
Was it the Miami Boat Show? The after party
Yeah, I
with
think that's what we were.
Bob Bitchin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was down in Miami. Yeah. So you still out sailing the Beneteau?
No, I sold it. My eyesight got worse and worse, and I can't even. I got rid of my motorcycles, got rid of my boats. I still drive my great big F-250 because nobody pulls out in front of that.
If you lived in South Florida, everybody'd still pull out in front of you.
You'd be surprised. The people I've lived in South Florida for a while, and the people around here travel a lot worse.
You think? I know I have a big 2500 HD and they still pull out in front of me and I know they're looking right at me. So, but
Yeah,
that's that's the perks of driving on the road, right? And we get to
yeah.
enjoy all the thrills and sights and sounds.
Darwinism will get them in the end.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so I'm gonna jump into the questions here, and I got something I've been struggling with lately is writer burnout. Um, you've written 30 plus Justin McDermott novels and multiple other series. So, what's your secret to sustaining the series long term and not getting burnt out with writing and advertising and everything that goes with being a self published author?
I try to do as little of that as possible. I hire people to do all that other stuff, so it just frees me up to write. And I keep track of what's going on business wise. I keep my finger on the pulse, but I just tell them what I want done, and then it happens. But so far as burnout, it's the same way as eating an elephant. You just take one bite at a time. And I don't write a whole lot. I write 3 or 4 books a year. Well, from a traditional standpoint, that's a whole lot. But from an indie standpoint, I mean, you look at somebody like Cap Daniels, and he's publishing a book a month or every 6 weeks. And I don't have that kind of fortitude to sit in front of the screen that long. So 3 or 4 books a year, it takes me 2 or 3 hours a day. Just keep plugging along. I guess it falls back to discipline and I guess maybe tenacity. I don't want to give it up, so I don't give it up, and so there's no burnout.
Yeah, I don't want to give it up either. But when you're wearing all the hats and I'm not really paying anybody to do any of the advertising and all that stuff. So some days it gets overwhelming, and I don't always get a lot
I
of writing done. And
I got to the point where I had to. It wasn't a matter of can I afford it. It's whether or not my sanity could afford it. It got to the
yeah,
point where if you when you have I'm up to 30 books in the Jesse series, like you said, 8 in the Charity series, 3 in the Young Jesse series, 3 in the Jerry series, and to manage all that, like this past year, we went into KU for 9 months and then came back out of KU and republished wide. I'd been wide since 2020. So just the mechanics of doing that would be just so overwhelming that I wouldn't get any writing done for 2 or 3 weeks. So it became a necessity to have people to work for me and to do a lot of the work that it's not that I really don't want to do it. It's my time is better spent doing other things, and that's telling stories.
All right. Well, let's talk about going wide. How long you've been wide? What made you decide to go wide? And what's your advice to other authors who want to go that route?
I'll answer last question first. Uh, you don't want to go wide it, unless your Amazon sales, not Amazon sales plus KU page reads, your Amazon sales alone. If that can float your boat, why not? Because you're not giving up KU. It's not going to just evaporate. When I came out of KU in 2020, I continued to get page reads on a series that was completely unpublished for 6 years. It's still getting page reads today. All my back list is all still getting page reads. But unless you can afford to just survive on the sales alone, wait. And that way you're not risking a whole lot. As your KU page reads go down, you're going to start building an audience wide. And where they merge is going to be a struggle because you're coming way down in income and then slowly coming back up on the other side. So it's a risky chance, but it's a leap of faith. And the reason was just to reach more readers. I'm not 100% wide. Each new book is released in Kindle Unlimited because all these KU readers have been with me for 14 years. They want to read the next book. So each book is published in KU for 90 days, and then it comes out and goes wide. So I have the same release schedule wide as I do in KU, just 3 months delayed.
And you're still finding that I found when I tried to do the same thing, releasing the KU and then release wide 3 months later. I found my KU page reads just dropped dramatically because people weren't either invested in the series anymore or looking for something, looking to buy the book instead.
Which is exactly why in 2024 I went back into KU. I noticed the same thing. Every release, I'd get a big spike in page reads and it'd drop down, and I'd get the KU All-Star bonus for all 3 months, but each time it was smaller and smaller. And that third month, the page reads were, 5 or 6 wide sales would have replaced it. So there is an end life for KU. Your readers are going to read it. If there's not any new KU readers coming in, they're not going to pick up book 29 in the series and then go back and buy book 1 through 28. They're just going to pass on it. So my existing KU readers continue to read the series, although the page reads started getting smaller and smaller with each release. And that's just people dropping out of the series, people who drop out of Kindle Unlimited, people who unfortunately pass away, people who, leave the series for whatever reason. But there's going to be some attrition, and it's going to steadily drop lower and lower. So I figured, okay, well, if I go back into KU for 90, or originally I'd planned for it to be 90 days. It ended up being 9 months. But if I go back into KU with all the books, releasing them into KU, book 1, book 2, book 3, in order all the way through the series over a 2-month period, and then I would, increase the number of people waiting for that next release. And this last release just proved that to be way better than I expected. My page reads for this latest release, which is now 11 days old, is already at 70% of the last release full month. They were both released on the 1st of the month, December 1st and August 1st. And this new release, it's already 70% of the total page reads of all of December. So it was definitely refilled the net. And so now I have a whole lot more KU readers who are waiting on the next book. And they're brand new to the series. They're signing up for my newsletter. And they don't know that I'm not in KU anymore because they've already read all the way up through the series.
Yeah. So what's your once you go to wide after that 3 month KU release? What's your mechanics for that?
It's just as simple as I wait until at least a month after the release before unchecking the box, because one time I unchecked it like 3 days after the release, and they just removed it from Kindle Unlimited completely. They thought I made a mistake or something. But I wait until a month after, uncheck the KU box. When the day comes that it's no longer in KU, it gets published wide. And my assistants over at Aurora Publicity do all that work.
Okay. And then are you advertising for your books in KU? Are you doing a lot of advertising for that, or are you just pounding away at Amazon ads as a whole and Facebook as a whole to drive new readers to your book?
We were doing Facebook ads pretty good when we were wide. It's definitely a benefit for wide authors, but we stopped when we went back into KU with the Facebook ads. And since then, I've gone through several cycles of different ideas for Amazon ads, and now I think we've hit on a winner. And we're slowly ramping up our Amazon ads just for book one and targeting specific audiences, and slowly bringing down all the ad spend on my other ads that are advertising every book in the series, which is kind of ridiculous. And it has a really high ACoS, but when you have 30 books in the series, it doesn't take long to get that recouped with sell-through. And that's working out really good. We started that in June 1st, and now we're 2 months and 2.5 months into it, and that's looking like it's going to be very successful. Expensive, but in the long run, very successful.
For new authors starting out, is it the best way to get your book out there is obvious that you advertise. What's your advice to new authors bringing a book to market?
Brand new authors starting out, first thing you got to do is go pick up a copy of Blue Collar to No Collar by this guy named Wayne Stinnett. It'll describe everything that I did and all the mistakes I made, give you some motivation, give you some laughs, and just don't start any advertising yet. You're not ready for that. If you only have one book out, why are you advertising? Advertising is to sell to book 2 and book 3 and book 4 and so on. I wouldn't suggest ever doing AMS ads until after you have at least 3 books published. And that's just the law of averages. If you have a really good sell-through rate to book 2, 50%, and then 50% of those read book 3, well, that's 1 out of 4 people are going to read the whole series. So if you have a high ACoS, that's average or advertising cost of sales, if that goes up to over 100%, well, that could be really risky when you only have 3 books, because it's not based on the advertising cost of how much you make. It's the advertising cost of retail sales. And so you have to watch that, because if it gets above 70%, 70% is break even if you're only advertising 1 book. And nobody can get a 70% ACoS anymore.
Right. That's Amazon's made it tough. All the advertisers and the increasing price of clicks, and it's just a lot tougher environment out there to advertise.
It is, and it's just not something that's, not only is it not viable for a brand new author, it's just not effective. You're trying to get ad space with authors who are spending, like myself, $5,000, $6,000 a month, and you're just not going to compete with that, not unless you have really, really deep pockets. Start building your audience slowly, create a newsletter, get a website, do all these things before you start advertising. Advertising should be one of the last things that you do as a indie published author. And once you get to that point and you have some money coming in, don't spend any more advertising than you do have with your book income, because you're not risking your family's income. You're not risking the mortgage payment. You're not risking food on the table. All you're risking is money that your books have already made. So it makes sense to just keep the advertising low. But again, if you're spending $200-300 a month on advertising, it's not going to have that big an effect. And the effect that you don't see is the visibility. Yeah, you're only selling, okay, let's say you're selling 20 books a month. You have 2 books out, and your first book is selling, they're both selling 20 books a month, and you start advertising book 1, you might get 1 extra or 2 extra sales per month. And that's not going to pay for the cost of the ads. But that 1 or 2 extra is going to bump you up just enough in rank to make you a little bit more visible to get more organic sales. And as the organic sales go up, and the ad sales just add to it and creates more visibility, ad sales and more visibility. So you don't have to sell, my ads are only selling 4 or 5 books a day, but my actual book 1 is selling 15 to 20 a day. So it's the visibility that the ads create is what really propagates more sales.
Okay. And you find that, depending upon your budget, the more money you spend, the greater visibility that you have.
To a degree. With Amazon is such a huge ship, and the algorithm that they use to determine placement of ads is so complicated. We don't know what it is. We have no idea. Nobody at Amazon knows what it is. It's a life of its own. But that doesn't mean you can't take advantage of it. So by taking advantage of the algorithm, you can't really go from advertising, a budget of $200 a month and then boom, bump that up to $4,000 a month the next month and expect any greater results. It takes a long time and slowly building the budget up for the ads so that the algorithm can start to see what effect it's having, what audience it's reaching, and how they want to sell your books just as bad as you do because that's more money in their pocket. But you got to move really slow. It's a huge ship, and if you've ever been on a big aircraft carrier or anything like that, it takes a long time to turn that sucker.
Yep. So what about wide? Are you consistently driving traffic to other platforms like Apple and Kobo and Google?
Well, more than anything, just being wide enables me to sell directly to my readers. I make more from direct sales than I do from either Apple or Barnes and Noble. Not as much as both of them combined, but pretty close. Okay. I don't do any kind of advertising on any of the wide platforms. Occasionally, they may have some kind of promotion that comes up, like this month on Barnes and Noble. If you're a Barnes and Noble Nook reader, all my books are buy one get one free. So you can buy any book in my catalog and get a second one for free, and that's throughout the entire month of August. Apple has certain promos that come along every now and then. Kobo does also. Google, I haven't had much traction with Google or seen much in the way of promotions that they do. But Apple and Barnes and Noble are my primary wide markets next to my direct sales.
So I found that Apple is the largest seller outside of Amazon.
It's the same with me. Apple is probably 50% more than Barnes and Noble. Last year, they were very close, but that was after 5 years of building the audience. And now I'm starting to build the audience again. And my old audience is, oh, hey, Wayne just published a new book. Well, I published it last year, but you're just getting it now.
So let's talk about the direct sales a bit. You're selling straight from your website. Are you offering discounts on the books? How are you driving traffic to that?
Well, my newsletter subscribers know that the prices on my website are for the backlist, the earlier books, it's $1 less, and for the newer books, it's like $2 less. Plus, they have access to a discount code, which gets them an extra 10% off anything in the store. So, say a $7.99 book on Amazon, I'm selling for $5.99. On Amazon, I would make $5.50 roughly. Selling directly, I keep the whole $5.99. So I make a little bit more money. My readers get a $2 discount, plus they get 10% off. So then I just about break even. But it it's a better way of selling books, I think. You have a much more in-depth contact with the reader. They can contact you. I tell my readers, in my latest newsletter, I went in depth on how to buy my books on my website, and I can't figure out why more of them aren't doing it. It's a lot less expensive, but it's not as convenient. They buy it on Amazon, boom, it's on your Kindle already. You got to take one extra step when you buy direct, and that's open an email and click a link, and there you go, it's downloaded. But
Nice.
it's doing really well.
I assume you're using BookFunnel to deliver those.
Yeah, we use WooCommerce for the store. That's integrated with our website, and then BookFunnel's attached to WooCommerce through the store, so it reports just like any other vendor. It reports on my scribe count dashboard exactly how many sales are per day, and what I might do to increase that. But I like the direct sales. We direct sale ebooks, audiobooks, and paperbacks, signed paperbacks. The paperbacks are the same price as Amazon, but I say, "Hey, Evan, how you doing?" and sign it.
Yep. I sell everything I have is direct to consumer, um, and I sell bundles basically, and the bundles seem to be selling better than individual books. I drive a lot of traffic to the bundles, and that works for me. I think as people get interested in the first three books in the series, and then they'll continue to read through the series.
That's a good idea, because when you buy a bundle like that, you kind of, you've already bought them. You have to read them now.
Yeah, yeah. I give them a discount on the first three books. So the first three books are $9.99, and then um, there's an upsell app that they can buy the next bundle or then the next two bundles, depending upon what they want to click, and they get a discount on those bundles too. So I see a lot
I've
of sales
I've
through
had
that.
readers contact me. I've had readers contact me and ask about large bundles. One reader wanted to buy every book, and I emailed him back. I said, "You do realize that's 44 books? It's going to weigh about 60 pounds, and the shipping alone is going to be like $50 or $80." But
Yeah,
he was insistent. He wanted the whole library signed. So I spent a whole evening signing all 44 books, and we boxed them up and shipped them out. And it was 67 pounds. I think it was over $80 in shipping. And my poor my poor mail lady, I had to go out there and help her with them because they were too heavy to put in her truck.
that's amazing that readers want to buy all the books like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my own collection over there on a bookshelf of every Randy Wainwright book, every Carl Hyacin book, every John D. McDonald book, and those are the only three that I really have a full collection of. But I've for the last 15 years, I've been like everybody else reading ebooks.
Yep.
But I'm not getting rid of my paperbacks. My wife keeps telling me she's going to sell them in a yard sale or something.
So are your paperback sales equal to ebooks, or do you find that a lot of people are still buying paperbacks?
You mean through Amazon or through direct?
Through either one.
No, paperbacks traditionally have been my lowest format. We do a lot better. Ebooks are probably 10, 15 to 1. Audiobooks are probably 3 to 1. Paperbacks, uh, we're lucky to break $600 a year or $600 a month in paperbacks. Uh, Through direct sales, it's a little bit less. Um, Audiobooks are a lot better at direct sales. At least half of our direct sales are audiobooks, and maybe 4-to-1 for paperbacks.
Okay. When you decided to go this route, what do you think the steepest learning curve was for you going into direct?
Well, I didn't really have much to learn because I don't do it. Somebody else does. I talked with Damon Sweat or Damon. What's his last name? Uh, I'm losing it now. Creator of Book Funnel, Damon. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I can't remember right offhand. But we talked a bunch, and I knew pretty much how it worked. But I just had to relay that information to what I wanted done and how it needed to be done. And fortunately, Aurora Publicity had one of their assistants who was knowledgeable in direct sales and book funnel, and so she took that on for me. And now I just plug it in on my schedule, upload the files to Trello. She takes it from there, uploads the files to Authors Republic, who distributes our audiobooks, uploads to the ship store where we sell direct, and we never miss a beat. We've hit every release. This latest release, the ebook, paperback, and audiobook were all three on the same Amazon page on day one. That was really cool. That's the first time that's happened in a while.
Nice. So what do you once you release the book, what's your system for getting reviews?
I don't. I've never worried about reviews. Very rarely read a review unless somebody emails it to me. With It sounds like I'm tooting my horn now, but normally first day sales are over 1,000, and of those there'll be 100, 150 that will write a review. I have some really dedicated readers on my newsletter, and they know that reviews are important. I never asked them to do this, but I'll have 200 reviews on day one. Of course, one or two are going to be drive-by 1 stars. I always get those. Those are fun.
Yep. So it's just been an organic process of building your readership and um, developing your relationship with them so that they will go out and leave you a review.
Exactly. My newsletter list is 100% organic. In the back of in the front matter and back matter of all my books is an invitation to join my newsletter. It's not a live link on the ebook. You have to go to a browser and type in www.waynestinnett.com and then find the link on there to join the newsletter. Type in your information, send it. You'll get an automated email asking, did you really want to be a part of this? And you have to click yes, and then you're part of the inner circle. And we have over 7,500 subscribers now, and they are all 100% organic. Nobody was ever promised anything. Nobody was ever even mentioned anything for free or discounted. They find out they get discounts later on once the next newsletter comes out. But they all joined the newsletter simply because they wanted to know more about how I write, why I write, where I am in my writing, when the next book's going to be, how much it's going to be. They do get a massive discount on the first 2 days of pre-order. When a book goes on pre-order, it's only $2.99 for 48 hours. I send a newsletter early that morning, and they're all over it. They'll have that book up in the ranks really, really quick. But they're very dedicated. A lot of them I know quite well through social media, through email. I've met quite a few of them in person. Just a couple of weeks ago, one of my readers came down to Beaufort from North Carolina to give somebody a ride to their car. So we had lunch together. There's a little restaurant right downstairs, and So we had lunch together and talked about books and talked about, old. He's also a former Marine, so we talked about the old Corps. And it's just fun, and just getting to know all these people in depth, and getting to know what they like. And I don't really write towards an audience, but I try to stay mainstream with what my core readers enjoy. And so they've been with me now through 44 books. And so they probably know better than I do.
Well, great. So what is your take on free? We see a lot of authors offering a free book or free short story to get somebody to join their newsletter. Um, do you think it's like degrading our work, like lessening, um, the amount of time and energy we put into it to give something away for free like that?
No, I look at it like this. I mostly advertise my first book. If I'm going to do a free promo, it's going to be on book 1. Why would I do it on book 15? Nobody's going to do that. So it's always on book 1. And book 1 has already made, it's earned on a scale of maybe 10,000 times more than it costs to produce. So why not? I'll do the same thing with the audiobooks. They've already earned back every penny that they've cost to create. So why not offer them for free? I'll do a semi-perma free sometimes, like especially November, right after Thanksgiving. Book 1 will be free all the way through New Year's, and I get a lot of downloads, organic downloads. There's no advertising of it or anything. The AMS ads, they of course go absolutely crazy, because you can't figure an ACOS with zero income, but it works. To do a perma free that's always free, I don't like that idea. You doing a free book to get newsletter subscribers, I don't like that idea. You could create a separate newsletter list just for those. I call those freeloaders. They're going to be on that list until the next free thing is offered. They're not going to buy a book. They're just waiting for the next free thing. Maybe one out of 10, 1 out of 20 might buy, but for the most part, they signed up to get something free, and they're going to wait for something else free. So keep those, if you're going to do that, keep those separate from your core readers, your organic base readers, because your organic readers are the ones that are going to drive sales. They're the ones that are going to push your book up the ranks on release day. They're the ones that are going to sell 200, 300 books a day for the first couple of days. And once you get that established, get that core group established, they're going to tell their friends, and their friends are going to tell their friends. That's the best advertising. It's just word of mouth, and you get that through building relationships.
Right. I had a question I was going to ask you, and it just slipped my mind.
That happens to me all the time. Of course, I'm about 30 years older than you too.
That's true. I don't know. I think it's a constant dopamine addiction of our phone screens that our minds are slipping. But so, getting back to the newsletter, I do agree, because I used to give away a short story to get people to sign up to my newsletter, and then when I decided I was going to go direct, I merged the free people with the people coming in buying direct, and I think I lost a lot of traction because people were there just for the free stuff, and who knows if they're ever going to read the book that you gave them for free. But thankfully,
yeah, that's the thing. I would say that 1 out of 10 or 15 people who download a free book ever even open it. And they see a free book, they download it. They get a BookBub email, every single free book on there, they download it. Whether or not they're interested in it, they may read it, they may change their change their viewing habit, their reading habits, switch genres sometime in the future. They might want to read it 10 years from now, but it's there.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I think that when you mix free and your direct-to-consumer newsletter people, then you lose a lot of traction. Definitely want to keep them separate and
Hmm.
and build and build your organic newsletter through your direct-to-consumer. Um, so it's a it's interesting
It's
how that works.
it's a very long process. I started my newsletter in I think it's probably May or June of 2014. So it's been 11 years. And 11 years and 7,500 subscribers, that's not very many. That's two a day. In fact, if I open my uh, MailChimp report this morning, I'll probably see that there were two new subscribers. It very rarely gets above four. Sometimes it's zero, but it's usually one or two. And just
Yeah.
one or two a day, 365 days a year for 14 years builds a pretty aggressive list. They do wonders for me. I announce a newsletter. I announce in my newsletter that I've got a pre-order. The day that pre-order comes out, it's in the top 10 sea adventures, and it pretty much stays in the top 20 for throughout uh, the whole pre-order period. And then they buy it, and then they're waiting. Half of them are waiting for it to be live because they don't like pre-orders. They think, oh, Wayne's old. He's going to drop dead before the book's published. No, I'm going to be around for a few more books, guys.
Oh, are you still doing the grow the beard as you write the book deal?
Sort of. As you can see, I take the summers off. This should be, well, I should have just shaved actually 11 days ago, but it's been like this all summer. Yeah, I'll when the next book's released on December 1st, then I'll just let it grow for throughout the winter, and because it keeps me warm. You lose 80% of your body heat through your head, and I'm sure you know this. You got to keep that head covered in the wintertime.
Yep. Yeah, and we have no natural covering up there, so
No, no
you have
insulation
to.
whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah,
People ask me all the time, "Why do you shave your head, Wayne?" I don't shave my head. It's just natural.
yeah, yeah. So when you're writing a book, um, you told me one time that you just kind of sit down and the idea pops into your head, and that you're a pantser. You don't really plot anything out. But what do you do when you hit that wall and you say, "How do I get over this hump? Where's the character going from here?"
Just right through it. The wall looks insurmountable, but it's only a paragraph or two thick. Just write the next paragraph, write the next paragraph, and there. I mean, my books. I'm in action adventure, and people praise all the action in a Jesse McDermott novel, but really there isn't very much action. It's mostly adventure. So I just write the adventure until the action comes along. And Jesse, being the guy he is, he finds trouble pretty much anytime he goes out in public. So I don't have to wait long. This latest one, I'm on I think chapter 12 or 13. No, I'm on chapter 20. I've already written close to 20,000 words, 21,000 words, and the plot just came to me last week. So I went back and wrote chapter 1, chapter 5, and chapter 8 from the bad guy's point of view. I start out with chapter 2 because I don't know what the crime or what the problem's going to be yet. So I just start chapter 2. I close my eyes and I visualize a place, a location that I'm familiar with, and just start describing where Jesse's standing. I mean, that's your setting is just as integral part of your book as the any of the characters. And for you to start out a book with, inner dialogue that the character's doing this or that, well, they got to be somewhere first. They got to either be, knee deep in a tidal pool, on a boat headed out to a fishing ground, on an island somewhere, laying on the beach. They have to be somewhere, and that should be the opening line of the second chapter, not the first chapter. So I just try to describe where he's at and what he's doing. My best reference was the opening of Rising Fury, where Jesse is just standing in a tidal pool, and the current is moving. Well, it's not a tidal pool, but it's between a couple of islands. He's fly fishing for bonefish, and the current is moving slowly, and the water's going past his feet. And I described that feeling. You've stood on the beach before, and everybody who's ever been to the beach and stood there and at the water's edge and felt the water rush in, and then the water wash back out, and how your feet slowly sink into the sand. And if you can describe that feeling, that's something that readers have experienced before, they immediately click and they get involved in the story. Oh yeah, I remember that. I know how that goes. And it just seems to resonate when you include the setting as a character. And I create a whole bio for the setting. That's the first thing I do when I sit down to write a new book. When's it going to be released? What is the date? Okay. Now that I know the date, the book is set at, well, what time does sunrise happen on that day? What time does the sun set? What time is solar noon? What time does the moon come up? What phase is it? What time does it go down? What's the average weather? What's the temperature? And I create a bio based on, the sunrise is 6:08, sunset is 6:17, and just go through and fill out all this criteria for the setting. And that's my first 500 words of a story. It's just, what the setting is going to be. So, and if my readers get a kick out of it, because they get the book on release day, and the release day of this last one was August 1st. Opening chapter was August 1st. And if there's mention there about, Jesse's out on a boat and there's a half waxing moon just about to set. Well, if they walk outside, they'll see a half waxing moon if it's the same time of day, because that's what the setting was. That's the setting description. So they get a kick out of that. And I drop little Easter eggs in there about, things that only my newsletter subscribers would catch. Little tidbits of words or something like that, something I said in a newsletter, and they'll write me back and write an email and say, hey, I saw that mention of so-and-so. And it's fun, just adding, it's a lot of fun bringing your readers into the story.
Absolutely. So how do you bring them into the story when, okay, they know the setting, they know, they have that feel, but what about the action part? Because a lot of our readers haven't been to combat, or they've never been involved in the kind of action that our heroes are doing in the book. How do you bring the reader into that?
But they have watched TV, so they've seen it on TV. The bad part is what they see on TV is not reality. I mean, you watch some of these old westerns. John Wayne gets into a bar fight with Liberty Valance and his guys, and the fight lasts for 5 or 6 minutes, and there's 5 or 6 chairs broken over somebody's head, and they get punched in the jaw 15 times. That's not a real fight. That's all choreographed. A real fight lasts about 15 or 20 seconds, and usually the loser is the first guy who gets hit. And you're not going to have multiple chairs broken over somebody and them get up and fight back. So I try to keep the fights, the action parts, as realistic as possible, based on my experience as a Marine, my experience as a bar bouncer. Real fights don't last that long. Real altercations are very short and usually quite violent.
Absolutely. A fight. I've never had a fight go, beyond a couple of minutes, and usually end up rolling around on the ground and nobody's hitting anything. Oh,
But
usually
yeah,
guys are.
grappling's not fighting.
Yeah. I mean, when you're fighting on the schoolyard, that's what happens, right?
Yeah, yeah. When you go down to the ground, both fighters are exactly the same size.
Yep.
And Jesse's 6'3", 225 pounds, so he prefers standing up. So that's the best place for him to fight.
So, how old is Jesse now? What do you think his age is?
Well, I know exactly how old he is. I don't want to say because I think it's kind of bringing down the series. Jesse's a couple of years younger than me. Well, I'm actually Rusty. Rusty was born on November 16th, 1958, same as I was. Rusty and I are exactly the same age, and Jesse is 4 years younger than him. So Jesse is about to turn 63.
Okay.
And I've had well, years ago, 5 years ago, people would write and say, this is just not possible. You can't have a character in his late 50s be able to do all this stuff. And I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, I learned marksmanship training in 1977, and I can still drive a nail. And I have not gone to any other marksmanship schools except for right over there at Paris Island. It's 8 miles that way. And that's the only marksmanship training I've ever had. I took taekwondo classes when I was in junior high school and high school, and that muscle memory is still there. And if you take somebody like Jesse McDermott, who spent 20 years in Force Recon, this is the pointy tip of the spear. And these guys are just unbelievably fit, agile, well into their. This doesn't go away with age. And people say, well, you lose strength, on. So I joined a gym to prove them wrong. And in the last 4 years, I have set and broken 5 state records in South Carolina for powerlifting. So no, age doesn't mean that you lose that edge, especially if you stay at it as Jesse does. Jesse swims, exercises every day. He practices with his rifle all the time, so he's sharp. Yeah, he's 62 years old, but if you take the average police officer who's been on the force for 15, 20 years, he is a dangerous man. That's a dangerous person, man or woman. That's a dangerous person. They've gone through training to become a dangerous person and to focus that ferocity and that violence on the bad people of the world. The day they retire, they don't take the badge and say, we're going to take all that experience away from you too. That experience stays with them. They are still every bit as dangerous the day after retirement, a year after retirement, 10 years after retirement. There are some dangerous old people out there. Trust me on this.
You can see a lot of them on YouTube. You go on there, and there's a lot of Green Berets and SEALs on there talking about their experiences, and they're retired, and now they're teaching
Yeah.
the new generation on how to be the baddest of the bad. So
There you go. I mean, these young people they come into these occupations, military, police, law enforcement. They move up in rank. They go into specialized training, and they become very, very dangerous people for the right side. Now, the ones who became very dangerous people on the other side, they lack the skill and training. So they're at a disadvantage right from the start. And I have a lot of respect for, of course, our military, our law enforcement. These guys do a job that's thankless. They do it for way below minimum wage when you factor in all the hours that they work. And they don't ask for thanks. They don't ask for anything. They just ask for respect. And no matter what the age is, I have great respect for anybody who's ever put on a uniform.
yeah,
You're all
me
still
too.
dangerous.
So at what point do you think Jesse's going to retire, or ever?
I don't know. I don't know. That's the reason I started writing the Young Jesse series, because I thought, well, my readers, maybe they think he's too old, but so far they're still sticking with it. And I wrote the Young Jesse series so that they can learn where he picked up all these things. Why does he act this way? Why does he do this like he does? And so I'm slowly revealing that in the Young Jesse series, and that's to me that's a whole lot more fun to write right now, because it's drawing uh, directly from my own experiences. And so, and he's younger. He's the first book he was 17 years old. So I'm trying to attract a little bit younger audience that way, and then work them into the regular Jesse series.
Oh, good.
But so far as
That's a great
Jesse
book to do.
retiring, I don't know. I'm not going to retire. I'm 67 years old. I think I have, I probably have a good 10 years left of writing, and so that would be another 30 Jesse books. So I'm only halfway. Because you imagine an action adventure character who's 74 years old.
Well, I mean, we're starting to see some of it in the movies now. Some of these older characters coming out. So I think it's
What
a
was that one
it's a
back
good
in?
possibility.
What was that one back about 15, 20 years ago with all the action adventure stars? It had Stallone and Schwarzenegger and Van Damme. They were all working together. I can't remember the name of the movie now, but
The Expendable.
the Expendables. Yeah, I was thinking the Invincibles. No, that's a cartoon. But the Expendables. Yeah, old guys can be every bit as tough as young guys,
Yep.
and a lot of young guys don't take that into account when they do the things they do, and they think they can get away with it. And I often say, which is worse, beating up an old man or being beat up by an old man?
You don't want to tell anybody about either one, I think. So
No,
I,
that's just bad
I
street cred.
that is. So in the end of your author career, or at the end of each book, what do you want readers and other writers to take away from your stories and your career?
I would hope that they learn a little bit, maybe learn a little bit about the Florida Keys, the Caribbean, the tropical lifestyle, living off grid, um, learn a little bit about why and when a weapon should be used and where, uh, learn a little bit about boats, and be entertained. That's what we're here for. More than anything else, is just pure entertainment. And if I liked one of my favorite wasn't really a review. It's actually a friend of mine who emailed me. We'd been friends long before I started writing. He's a retired Marine Sergeant Major, and he's also a hunter. And he said that he had, a couple of chapters left in, I forget which book it was. It was early in my career. It's like book 5 or 6. He had just a couple of chapters left, and he was going hunting in the morning. So he climbed up in the deer stand, and he's up there in the deer stand. He's all camouflaged. He's got this high-powered rifle with a scope. He's ready to kill something. And he started reading and had to climb out of the deer stand because his eyes were sweating too bad. That, yeah, I did my job right there. I did my job. If you can bring out that kind of emotion from a Marine Sergeant Major with a high-powered rifle sitting in a stand ready to kill something, then you've done your job. If your job was to make him cry.
Well, I want to say thank you, Wayne, for coming on here and talking to me about all this stuff. So um, I guess we're hitting the close to the hour mark, so we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to read a little outro, and then we'll call it a day. So
Well,
a
I
big
sure
thanks again.
appreciate you having me on.
No, absolutely, man. So I hope we get to do it again soon. So A big thanks to Wayne Stinnett for sharing what he takes to the real world experience into authentic storytelling, building a multi series brand, and sustaining a writing career over decades. His journey from Marine and blue collar worker to USA Today best-selling author is proof that persistence and focus do pay off. If you're new to Wayne's work, start out with Fallen Out, the first Jesse McDermott novel, and you can see all of his work at waynestinnett.com. As always, if you enjoyed today's episode, share it with an author, listener, and leave a review. And subscribe for more tactical conversations with authors shaping this genre. I'm Evan Graver. Thanks for listening. Stay sharp, write hard, and keep your fiction tactical.